You have probably never heard of this paradise, an island adrift in the Arabian Sea where trees bleed crimson sap and dunes pour straight into turquoise water. At first, Socotra looks like a dream someone forgot to wake up from. Dragon-esque blood trees standing like stone umbrellas on a high plateau, bottle trees blooming pink on cliffs, a lagoon so bright it feels backlit from beneath the earth. But look closer and you will see the small human gestures that anchor the fantasy to reality. A fisherman knotting his line with fingers nicked by coral. A grandmother pressing hot flatbread to a metal dome as steam fogs her glasses, a child chasing a goat up a limestone stairway carved by centuries of feet. Hidden off the coast of Yemen, guarded by winds and monsoon seas, Socotra remains one of Earth's last true hidden gems, an underexplored luxury for the soul destination that will rewrite your bucket list and, if you let it, the way you travel. Picture our first shot. Dawn over the Dixam Plateau. The camera glides above silhouettes of Dracana cinnabari, the legendary dragon S blood tree, each crown a perfect circle of shade, each trunk twisted like an ancient wrist. You hear nothing but wind and the tremor of insects waking in the cool light. When the tree is wounded, it cries, our guide says later, tapping a trunk that remains untouched. That red resin? Tears of a dragon. For centuries, that resin tinted varnishes and medicines, theater masks and legends, cargo as valuable as gold when sailors crossed these waters with stars for maps. On Socotra, myth isn't an old story. It's a living lens you look through to understand the present. We arrive from the United States the way most visitors do, jumping across the world to the Gulf, landing in Abu Dhabi, then boarding a small plane arranged by a licensed local operator. This isn't a place you improvise, it's a place you earn through preparation. Our permits were approved weeks before, our tents and cooks already on the island, our vehicles fueled for the dust and the climbs. On the tarmac, the heat presses like a palm on your chest, and then the door opens to a dry sea breeze. And you step onto a runway edged by mountains that look like coral frozen mid-wave. Hadibo, the island's humble capital, is a quick montage of first impressions. Motorbikes stacked with crates, bundles of green limes, a mechanic working with an adjustable wrench and patience. Street cats coil in the shade. Little kiosks sell biscuits and batteries, and once in a while someone spots our cameras and smiles with a mixture of curiosity and welcome. We stock up on water, tea, mangoes, and head south out of town. The asphalt giving way to gravel, the gravel to tracks, the tracks to nothing but intention. On our second morning, we climb toward Firmihin Forest, and the world tilts into a different time. The air is thin and hushing. Dragon's blood trees gather like elders holding umbrellas over a council of stones. Imagine a time lapse. 1,000 years of wind shaping every parasol canopy. 1,000 seasons stacked inside each trunk like unread rings. Our guide, Salim, pauses at a sapling guarded by a ring of stones. "We protect the babies now," he says, "or there will be no grandparents." He is not joking. Climate stress, goats, and invasive plants test the forest daily. You feel the responsibility land on your shoulders. Tread lightly, leave no trace, keep the story alive. The camera floats down the escarpment to Homhil, a sanctuary where magic pretends to be geology. The path is gentle, climbing over coral-like rock, because this island rose from the sea, and suddenly the horizon opens and the famous pool appears, a natural infinity edge pouring blue into blue. You slide in. The water is cold enough to pull a gasp, and for a moment, you forget how to narrate. Below, the coast unfurls in jade scallops, and the wind writes invisible lines on the sea. It's tempting to stop here and collect the shot the world knows, but we keep walking, 2 minutes on, along a narrow ledge, to a wider balcony where the island's spine and its shores join in one sweeping sentence. No one else is here. A vulture circles at eye level. The camera lingers, and the only thing left to add is your own breath. We descend to the northwestern curve of Socotra, where Kalancia's white arc guards Detwah Lagoon like a pearl in a giant shell. The sand squeaks underfoot. The shallows tilt from bone white to mint to sapphire. At the edge of the village, men fix their skiffs with a patience born from tides. We meet Ali, a fisherman with hands like braided rope and a laugh that ricochets off the water. "Dolphins will pull you to Shu'ab," he grins, then shrugs as if to say, "This is not a guarantee. This is a blessing." We push off. The boat nose lifts. The engine hums. Flying fish light up like silver punctuation marks. 10 minutes out, a pod appears. Sleek backs, synchronized breaths, the whistle and click of conversation below the hull. They surf our bow wave in a choreography no human could design. The lens edge catches a child from the village cheering from another boat. When we reach Shu'ab Beach, it looks unreal. A crescent of sugar sand, clear water banded with blues that have no names. You step off the skiff and the world shrinks to footprints and foam. At Dehamri Marine Reserve, we trade boots for fins and slip into an aquarium that has never learned the word enclosure. Parrotfish chew the reef with audible clicks. A turtle ghosts by, unbothered, older than your country. We keep our distance, camera drifting, legs still. The reef is a museum of living color. Touch nothing, disturb nothing, and everything will come close enough to fill the frame. When we surface, the wind has picked up, and the shore looks farther away. Good guides read the sea like a book, and ours already has tea boiling when we crawl onto the rocks. Socotra is not only landscapes, it's soundscape and story. Back in Hadibo at dusk, we sit on woven mats in a courtyard while Fatima, a poet, chants verses in Soqotri, the ancient language that lives here like a rare bird nesting in plain sight. The rhythm carries even if you don't understand the words. Salim translates in bursts. She sings about the monsoon as a stubborn guest, he says. It arrives full of itself, moves furniture, slams doors, and then suddenly it is gone. We laugh. The tea is sweet enough to count as dessert, and it does what sugar always does, turn strangers into conspirators. If you want adrenaline, Socotra's south coast obliges. Zahek and Haif are dunes that behave like waterfalls. Sand pours from a high ridge down into the surf, receding and pouring again, a bronze river that never reaches the sea. We climb in zigzags, breath loud, calves on fire, and then sprint down, the sand booming underfoot like a hidden drum. In the far east, at Arher, a mountain of sand leans against a rock spur. We set up a time-lapse as the wind carves the dune's lip into a knife edge, erases every footprint, and writes a pattern that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. After sunset, the dune becomes a balcony to the universe. With almost no light pollution, the Milky Way spills from horizon to horizon, so bright the sea tries to mirror it. We lie on our backs and pull the sky like a blanket over our eyes. The island's underworld calls us next. Hoq Cave opens like a gate to another planet. A yawning mouth of limestone, a cool exhale of air that smells like stone and time. Headlamps click on. The world narrows to a cone of light. Inside, stalactites like melted chandeliers, travertine terraces like frozen waterfalls, columns as thick as tower trunks. We pass scratched inscriptions from travelers centuries old, names, symbols, prayers. They came to testify, I was here, and this place was not a rumor. We add nothing to the walls. We add silence, which is the rarest contribution. Days here end in food that tastes like gratitude. Tuna grilled over coals, lemon squeezed with a practiced hand, rice scented with cardamom, and clove, a stew of vegetables that inherited the flavor of patience. Bread arrives hot and blistered, and the etiquette is simple. Right hand, shared platter, conversation that wanders as easily as goats do. The best meal to film is the simplest. A picnic at Detwah of grilled fish, mango, cucumbers, and tea in small glasses whose rims fog the camera for 1 second and then clear. Luxury on Socotra is not thread count, it's context. Where you sleep becomes part of your story. Our first nights are wild camping, tents pitched on a ledge above Homhil, then along the rim of Dixum. The wind writes lullabies in the guy lines. At dawn, you unzip the tent, and a dragon's blood tree frames the sea, the sun lifting like a coin from the horizon. In Hadibo, we switch to a simple guest house. Whitewashed walls, a fan that works when the power does, a shower that turns dust into a watercolor at your feet. Later, in the center of the island, our operator sets a safari-style camp. Canvas that breathes, proper cots, a dining tent with lanterns hung like moons. The generator lives at a polite distance. A cook in a white cap turns fish into ceremony, serves spiced tea like a benediction. If you're traveling on a budget, share costs in a small group of 6 to 10. If you're traveling for comfort, book early and travel off-peak inside the safe weather window. Either way, what you buy here isn't a room. It's a front-row seat to a world that still surprises itself. The year on Socotra pivots on wind. From October to April, the island speaks softly. Seas are calmer, trails friendly, skies a deep cinematic blue. February and March have a special shine. Cool nights for sleeping under canvases of stars, mornings still enough to send a skiff to Shu'ab without a second guess, bottle trees showing off their pink trumpets like a parade. By June, the monsoon arrives, and the island closes like a book to protect its pages. Winds whip, waves muscle the coast, and even the dunes seem to walk. If you can choose your time, choose the months when nature leans toward kindness. Practical wisdom keeps the magic intact. Dress modestly in villages, shoulders and knees covered, save swimsuits for the sea. Always ask before filming people, especially women and elders. Respect in frame becomes respect in life. Bring crisp US dollars. Card machines are rare and often asleep. Expect patchy power and signal. Rely on battery banks, headlamps, and your attention span. Hydrate, reapply reef-safe sunscreen, save plastic by refilling bottles, and pack a small bag for your trash so the island never has to carry it for you. And be honest with yourself about safety and logistics. This is Yemen, and advisories can be strict. The way responsible travelers navigate that reality is by working with reputable operators who hire locally, who know conservation rules, who make choices that leave the island better than they found it. Now, let me take you to 5 moments that don't fit neatly into guidebooks, the kind of scenes that change the pace of your memory. First, sunrise on a lesser-known ridge in Dixum. Our guide leads us away from the common grove, over a rib of rock chipped into steps by centuries of hooves. We crest a silent lip and find 3 dragon-esque blood trees standing in a triangle like conspirators. The wind flicks their crowns in slow motion. The sun peels the day open from purple to gold. We don't film for a minute. We let the place film us. Second, the fisherman's tea ceremony. After the dolphin run, Ali drags the skiff up the sand with a lever of driftwood, lights a tiny fire in a circle of stones, balances a blackened kettle on a pair of shells, and drops tea leaves like he's counting time. He tips in sugar with the generosity of a host who knows you came a long way. "Listen," he says and points to the water. "We hear nothing special, just wave and breeze. Look at the texture," he adds. And suddenly the surface divides itself into currents and rips, into shadows that are fish, into signs you would never read without a tutor. The sea becomes a conversation, and you understand how knowledge can be love. Third, Wadi Khalisan after a rare rain. Heat presses the canyon walls together like a vice, and then you turn a corner and the world unwraps into jade basins, tiered like steps to a throne. Shoes off, packed down, you hop rocks into water so clear it erases your ankles until your calves are 2 floating parentheses. Laughter bounces, someone cannonballs, and the splash paints the limestone with a new temporary map. Fourth, the night the stars fell into Arher. A lone truck parks at the dune base. We climb in dim light, the sand whispering under every step. At the crest, the sea is a voice in the dark. We set the tripod and wait, the sensor drinking photons the way the dunes drink footprints. And then it happens. A meteor streaks from east to west and throws its reflection into the black water. It lasts less than a second. We watch the frame later and realize the camera doesn't deserve credit. The sky did all the work. Fifth, Hoq Cave's last chamber, a place where the floor ripples like frozen silk. We step softly, the guide's lamp painting gold on wet limestone. He raises a hand. Listen. Water drips somewhere far ahead, a slow metronome. This cave is still writing, he says. We are just reading. On our final day, we return to Detwah to close a circle. The tide has gone out and the lagoon becomes a map of sandbars and ankle-deep channels. Children chase crabs, goats patrol like inspectors, and the air tastes faintly of salt and mango. Fatima finds us again at the edge of the village, her granddaughter hiding behind her scarf and peeking out with the brave half of a smile. You learned one word yet? She asks in Arabic through Salim. We try our first Soqotri greeting. It comes out clumsy and heavy, like boots on a glass floor. She laughs and corrects us, lighter, musical. The granddaughter mimics our accent and everybody laughs again. A language doesn't need a textbook when it has laughter to carry it. There's a moment, every serious traveler knows it, when a place stops being a backdrop and becomes a teacher. Socotra teaches by showing, not telling. It shows you a tree that looks like a question mark to remind you to ask better questions. It shows you dolphins escorting a skiff to remind you that joy can be work's companion. It shows you a cave still writing itself in stone to remind you that slow is a kind of wisdom. It shows you a community protecting saplings with stones so there will be grandparents for your grandchildren to meet. On our last sunrise, we stand under a dragon's blood canopy, the oldest living thing we've been near, and we do not touch it, because some reverence is hands off. The wind tilts the shade, the horizon brightens like a promise, and you can almost hear the island take a breath. This isn't a place you check off. It's a transformation of how you see nature, culture, and your own role inside both. If this journey stirred something, if somewhere between the dunes and the dolphins you felt a quiet yes, come with us. We make films for travelers who crave wonder and travel with care, for dreamers who prefer reality when it's unbelievable. Subscribe and join the expedition. There are more paradises like this tucked into the corners of the planet. Hidden gems, unique destinations, dreamscapes that don't need filters. We're going to find them, film them, and share them with you. The map isn't finished. The next story begins the moment you press play.